Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Oh, yeah. Well, November's on its last legs. It's the 29th, and we're well, you picked the verb. We're stumbling into December or whatever. I feel like I'm sleepwalking into December myself, but whatever. Time. Not slipping. So, I'm going to talk about today. I spent to be over 2 hours, and I kept telling myself, what are you doing this for? Isn't there something more important to do? And yet I kept getting pulled back. I watched Rosalind, excuse me, geez. If you watched it, you might know her name. Rosalind Carter's funeral yesterday. And even when she was First Lady, there were so many people who did not know how to pronounce her name. They'd say Rosalind, which is the more, I suppose, what more women who have that name, even if it's spelled slightly different, would say, but it was Rosalind. I was pulled into continuing to watch it because of the eulogies and of being reminded of a time so seemingly distant now when truly honorable Christian people, and I'm not implying Biden is not or Obama's were not, but there's something about the Carters that is so different than any of the other presidents in recent modern history. Is that redundant? Recent modern history? I don't know. They still live in that little town. They returned to the little town. They still live in the same ranch house, or did until she died. He's still there, and he will be dead, I bet, before the year's out. Tell me a president, other president, who did not make the accumulation of wealth post-presidency something that they grabbed onto. And not that there's anything wrong with the accumulation of wealth, especially if it has not been in the family before. The nod to the Obamas. But the fact that Jimmy and Rosalind Carter never obviously even considered cashing in. And while the others build libraries, monuments to their tenure, he built a foundation to help people. I don't know. You want to know the true definition of Christian? I refer you to Rosalind Carter. And I did not realize how much of a force she was in his presidency. That kind of thing would not have been covered much in those days. It would have been unseemly. And in fact, she started sitting in on cabinet meetings, I guess that got some attention because it was considered outrageous. The first lady obviously didn't know her place, but she did it because she was fully involved with him in his work. Her children, her grandchildren spoke of her and so humanized her. It was just lovely. It was so lovely. What a well-lived life. And he looked like he was, he'd have so little time left. But his grandson said that his grandfather had wanted, once Rosalind became ill, that wanted to stay with her. He was 3 years her senior. Wanted to be there for her. He made it. Which is why I have little doubt he will let go now. I kept wondering what was going through the minds of some of the other high-powered folk sitting there as they were reminded of this Christian couple who didn't in any way try to use their power for self-aggrandizement in any way. So unusual. It's so commendable. I wonder if any of the ex-presidents, current presidents, first ladies felt humbled, truly, listening to the recitation of the life of this woman. I wonder. I especially wondered what somebody like Melania Trump, who was sitting there, what goes through her head? What goes through her head as she realizes the emptiness of what she has gotten compared with the richness of that family that buried their matriarch? The richness of the family that then went back to the little ranch house in Plains, Georgia. So much more abundantly rich than Melania and her poisonous plans. I give her credit for showing up. It can't be easy. It can't be easy. She was seated next to Michelle Obama, and they both just looked straight ahead. I saw there was no interaction between them. I don't know. Amy Carter. I hadn't seen her in 50 years. She looks pretty much the same. She was sitting next to her dad, holding his hand throughout. And I was blown away by what I assume is Amy's husband. Because he looked like some old deadhead. Long white beard, long white hair and a ponytail. Grizzly Adams. I think that was her. Anyway, it was a reminder of what can be, what was, and what I don't know if is possible again. I don't know. It made me, of course, reminisce about the 2 times I had been with Jimmy Carter and how always it was memorable. Well, I guess by virtue of the fact of who he was, but he wasn't the president yet when I knew him, spent time with him. Once, the funny story is the first time. And if you haven't heard it, I'll tell it quickly. This would have been 1976. I was beginning my career in television. I was the weekend anchor, reporter, weather girl, everything. I've told those stories before. And I went into work one day and there's a folder that was kept of things to cover. This is coming up on this day. And I looked through it and it was like nothing. The only thing I saw was that the former governor of Georgia will be at the Sheraton Hotel with media availability from this time to this time. And I thought, well, heck, I guess it's the former governor of Georgia because I got nothing. And it said he was running for president. And I thought, are you kidding me? A former governor of Georgia named Jimmy? And I'd never heard of the guy. And so I showed up with a photographer, and damn, no one else was there. No one else. Maybe they'd come before and left. He was just sitting at a table. So I was able to sit down across from him, and we talked. Camera rolling. We talked. By the way, this was film, not tape. And I was blown away. I was just blown away. He was charming. He was so smart. And I left with great respect for this former governor of Georgia, thinking, wow, I still didn't think he had a shot. I mean, whoever knew of him was coming out of nowhere. I also remember his blue eyes. Now, that was the first time I met him. The second time is funnier, and I don't feel like telling it because it seems like improper now. Well, I guess I should, huh? I mean, just because I can't do that to you, even though I've told you. So the next time was probably, I don't know how many months later, but it turns out the former governor had gotten the, or was about to, I don't know, the nomination. So that the second time I saw him, I'm still the reporter in Madison, Wisconsin, and he's flying in to Truax Field. And I was with a whole bunch of other media behind a fence. And his plane landed, his jet landed. And what I didn't see was the second plane that came in after his plane. And that was a plane full of national media. This had to be after he got the nomination. And all I can remember is that he came down the steps first. I saw him. I felt like, hey, Jimmy, my old friend. That's what I felt. And I said to my photographer, hey, come on. Let's just move. And we pushed out ahead of the pack, which is not my nature and makes me question whether I'm remembering this correctly. But here's what ended up happening. This I know for sure. I managed to get right up to him and shake his hand, and the others were all behind me, and they were gathering around. And this was on the tarmac. So he just had come out of the plane, and I don't know if he even went anywhere after that. I'm not sure. But I was standing, we were facing each other. And I don't know how or who did it. I know how. All of a sudden, the sort of scrum of reporters and photographers got tighter. And I was like just sort of we were pushed into each other. And you're wondering, where the hell was the Secret Service? But you know what? This was before, right? It got so crazy. This was when something like this could even have happened. That a candidate for president would be so surrounded by people who themselves had not been vetted. And here's the problem. In my little heels, I was taller than Jimmy Carter. We were probably about the same height, but I was blocking any photographer that had not as great position behind me was not seeing his face because of my skinny little head right in front. And so I don't know whose hand it was, but I felt the power, and it was of a big hand on my head, the top of my head, and it pushed down. And my knees buckled, which was the intent of the person on the other end of that hand. My knees buckled. And I sort of dropped. That's what happens. So I am down there, sort of. My arm is still up. I've got pretty good position. He has so much going on that I doubt that he even knew I was there. I don't know. All I know is I spent that entire media scrum looking at Jimmy Carter's crotch. I kid you not. That is where I was. I remember thinking, this will be a funny story someday. At the time, I did not think it was very funny. Anyway, that's the last time I saw him. Good man. What a good man. Okay, that's that, I guess. Speaking of men, I saw a great quote from former Senator Claire McCaskill of the not so great state of Missouri. I've really come to like her. She does a lot of commentary on MSNBC, and when I've seen her, I just really like her. She's very direct, and this quote is exactly what I'm talking about. She says this. It looks like the choice for president is going to come down to two old white men. One is crazy. One is not. It's not that difficult. I mean, she could have said one is dangerous and one is doing an extremely commendable, capable job in the office, while the other his 4 years in the White House suggests an inability in regard to competence. So, yeah, there's that. So I saw, because all the first ladies were at the funeral, there was Melania. She's getting crap I see in the, whatever, even in the newspaper, for standing out among all the folks there in the front row and the first ladies because she was not wearing black. She was wearing gray. Well, I don't see anything wrong with wearing gray. And this is the kind of nonsense that our media traffic in constantly. The snarkiness, the with so much important stuff. She wore gray. But there was Hillary. And I thought it was interesting that Bill Clinton was there because I had understood that for some reason, when first ladies die, just the living first ladies go, not their husbands. And so, in fact, Barack Obama was not there. And George W. Bush was not there, but Laura Bush was there, and Michelle Obama was there. And the only husband that showed was Bill Clinton. And I appreciated that because I thought he thought, screw whatever this tradition is, I want to pay my respects. That's what I assumed. I have no reason to believe otherwise. Anyway, Hillary was there. And, looking at, there was Melania on the aisle. There was Michelle. There was Hillary. And I was thinking, good God. She should. Well, she got more votes. She should be, if we had a true democracy, she would have been the ex-president, not the first lady. And her competence is unquestionable. And instead we got you-know-who. And it's hard looking at those people and being reminded of choices, of opportunities, of what could have, what it was. But I happened upon a little factoid today about Hillary and media. And if you remember that race, Trump
You remember every word he uttered was covered by cable news, broadcast news. Cable news could not get enough, right? 24/7. It was CNN, MSNBC, Fox. It didn't matter. It was the Donald Trump network. Hillary Clinton, she was lucky if a speech she gave, if like a soundbite got pulled from it. In a national election, media in this country gave unbelievable amount of coverage to one candidate and not to the other. Even though, think about it, it was a historic candidacy. The first woman running as the nominee of one of the parties. So you'll remember when she mentioned deplorables, calling some of his base, his supporters, deplorable. That, some say, did her in. Because some of those deplorables might have been willing to vote for her. Who knows? But there wasn't anybody who didn't know she'd said it. Because media, the cable crowd, the 3 broadcast networks, they stayed on that forever. I mean, it got so much coverage. And somebody has actually gone back and done the sort of tabulation. How many times did CBS, NBC, and all of them, how often did they do the deplorable thing? Let's bring it back up. And then someone went back to see, and he didn't have to go back far, to see how much coverage Donald Trump's statement of just a few weeks ago, calling Democrats vermin. Well, he lumped Democrats and a whole bunch of other folks together as vermin. How much coverage did that get? Not much at all. You know that. Not much. Not much. Nothing like deplorable. And in fact, when the folks doing this added things up, deplorable got over 9 times the number of mentions in American mainstream media than Donald Trump, currently running, using the term vermin to reply to anybody who does not support him. And so, good God. I've got a caller. Hello.
Hi, Lynn. This is Beth calling.
Hi, Beth.
Hi. Just wanted to say, I think there was actually a great op-ed after the election. Just kind of what you said, that here we had the first woman running for president in U.S. history. And the media did not allow us as women to enjoy this victory, so to speak. I forget who wrote it, but I remember that being brought up. As far as yesterday, I was captivated by the memorial service of Rosalind Carter.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one.
Oh, no, I was.
Good.
No, it was absolute. I just thought to myself,
wow,
what a fitting tribute! What a beautiful service! It was not. It was not heavy in any sense. Her children and grandchildren, just the humility humility, but also their humor and picking out the funny things in life. I just thought it was phenomenal.
I laughed, I cried, right? I cried.
Yeah, that was exactly it. And just the one that really shocked me was that Judy Woodruff was one of the speakers.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I guess she, a member of the media. But I thank you for reminding me of this. She said something that I sort of winced because
I bet I know what.
Yeah, I bet you do. I was surprised she even went there, knowing that Melania was going to be there. But she said she was telling us. Well, go ahead, you tell. She was telling a story about how Rosalind and Jimmy reacted to Joe Biden.
I believe she made the comment that Jimmy's like, oh, well, he's good. And she's, it was kind of just slamming Trump, like, oh, please don't.
No, I think my thing is, I think she said Jimmy did, he just went on, this policy, I'm in that policy. He just, his head just was very seriously responding. And Rosalind said, I'm just so relieved.
Mm-hmm. This is different. Right. This was different.
Okay. And that's my memory. I'm just so relieved. And what she meant was that Trump was out of the White House and Biden was in. And I was surprised that Woodruff, knowing Melania was there, but who cares? I mean, I don't care. That's why I said I think it took some courage for Melania to show up.
Well, I was just joking. If I was writing for one of the late night talk shows, I would have said, that Melania Trump was at the trial, or at the funeral. Everyone was shocked that she flew down to Atlanta. But, she has to get used to that flight now if she's going to visit Don in Georgia jail.
Yeah, that's true. You think she's going to visit him? Hell no.
No. Well, who knows? There could be something in the prenup.
Oh God.
The other thing, because I have to confess, I was always a Carter. I just love the man. As a matter of fact, I remember I did my senior thesis in college on the Camp David Accords and what he did.
Wow.
And then working in Atlanta so much, I have to say the Carter Center, to me, it is, anyone who's never been there or to a presidential library, it is such a zen and wonderful place. And they keep the thing of community going there with different activities, speakers that come in. They have a farmer's market there every week.
Wow.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Plus a tribute to the both of them, not just the presidential work they did, but also more so the post-presidential work that they did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So highly recommend it to anyone who's ever in Atlanta.
Want to know what a lifetime of service looks like. Look to the Carters.
Yeah, and you know what? Point it to. I think it's so funny that these people believe their faith. I mean, without a doubt, in the work they lived it, and still found some sort of that they couldn't stop. That the work was never finished. They still kept going, and the fact that you had how many people mocking him. And we all know if he got the hostages out of Iran, we probably would have had a different situation altogether. But service-wise, I have to say I'm ready for the one grandson.
Whoa,
Jason Carter.
Yeah, whoa, that guy I fell in love. Who? He's amazing. He gave one of the eulogies. And he was. Whoa! I got the impression that he was maybe the head of the center or the titular or the foundation or whatever. Yeah. Wow.
I had to look up his whole bio after Lynn. I was so
Whose son is he? Whose son is he?
I think he's Chip's son. I think it was Chip's.
Whoa. Well, a chip off the old block. What an impressive character.
He already was a Georgia delegate. He has his law degree, and now he's been running the Carter Center after his district got redistricted, it seemed like. But I'm waiting for that guy to come back on the political scene. If the Dems don't see something, he's young, totally engaging.
Oh.
And with Georgia now having more of a swing of blue, you know, here could be your gubernatorial candidate in Georgia easily.
Well, you and I seem to think a lot alike. And yeah, I was thinking the same. Oh, you right there.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his line of, you know, just respectfully, every dignitary, the mayor of Atlanta, Governor Kemp, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, Secretary Clinton, Dr. Biden, thank you for bringing your husbands too.
I know. He just, wow, I loved it. He was good. He was really good. And so are you, Beth. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. So, yeah, all of that. Whew. Well, I had no idea I was going to. Hey, I found some good news today. Not that it's a story I suspect our media's covered much, but you know, there have been 41 men buried underground in India for well over 2 weeks. And the attempt to get to them, to rescue them, has at times looked like it was futile. And unbelievably, they finally reached them. They're all alive, and they are out. 41 men stranded in like northern India. They're construction workers, and they were building a tunnel. And obviously, it collapsed. So that was the good news. 41 human souls. An effort that turned out to work. Here's something else I just wanted to tell you. I don't know about you, but I actually, I rarely buy avocados, but I will never buy another avocado. And I want to tell you why. I mean, I can, like, it ain't, I just won't. There's a story today. If you read the story, I would think that you would find it difficult to buy another avocado too. Although it's very complex, but the odds are about 99.9% that any avocados you buy or eat here, the guacamole and all that, originates in Mexico. And what happened is Americans didn't used to get into avocados much, but we are now. We consume more avocados now, like 3 times as many as we did 10 years ago or something. I can't remember. Consumption has skyrocketed. And so if you're down there in Mexico growing avocados, looks like a really good idea. So what has happened is that bad people, why are there so many of them? Bad people have been setting fire to these beautiful deciduous forests in western Mexico, burning them to the ground, and then planting avocados in their stead. Now, first of all, they're taking land from people to do this. The gangs, bad actors, cartels are involved. Avocados, fentanyl, who cares, whatever. And an avocado, to grow an avocado, requires as much water as 14 mature pine trees. One avocado plant sucks up and needs as much water as 14 fully grown, gorgeous pine trees. And so all these forests they're taking down and putting the avocados in, they are sucking up all the water. They are draining the aquifers needed for the farmers who live around there to actually do their crops. And so this is you could throw this on to the nonsense going on down there, the turf wars with the drug cartels and this, and now this. It's a new thing. The forests are being raised at a breakneck speed, deforestation at a time when we know what that gets us, where water becomes important and it's disappearing. And all of this, just to make clear, is fueled by our, America's, now newly found appetite for avocado. Gotta have my avocado toast. Gotta have my guac. I do like it. And we've been told it's a very healthy food, right? I can live without it. And I'm going to. It says here in the New York Times article, Del Monte, one of the largest American avocado distributors, said that it supports reforestation projects in Mexico. But in a statement, the company also said that Del Monte does not own farms in Mexico and instead relied on industry collaboration to ensure that growers abided by local laws. In other words, hey, we're too busy making money on this, okay? We ain't doing anything here. Del Monte. I might shy away from them too. I don't know. I mean, it's not like my not eating an avocado is going to save the world. But at least I won't feel in this particular instance that I'm contributing to the mess that we are creating. Hey, Pope Francis. Talk about an old man with some, stamina and guts. He has evicted a cardinal, an American cardinal, from his Vatican apartment. He's thrown him out onto the street, stripped him of whatever pension cardinals get, and he's like the worst guy in the universe. So I am thrilled. It is I think he was in St. Louis. This disgustingly right-wing Raymond Burke. He has worked mightily to undermine the Pope. And Francis kept like doing little things to him, like he got him out of St. Louis and this and that. And this is it. He's had enough. And he is to be thrown out of his Vatican subsidized apartment, as well as deprived of his pension as a retired cardinal. Meanwhile, was it just last week that the Pope I don't know if he excommunicated or he also got rid of a bishop in Texas. These are all these guys who are just actively working to undermine his papacy. The guy in Texas was named Strickland, and the Vatican said they removed him after investigation into the governance of his diocese. So he just might be a grifter in a cassock, who knows. And when the deposed Bishop Strickland heard about the soon to be evicted cardinal, he said this: "If this is accurate, it is an atrocity." Now, I want to say that here is a really good example of people misusing a word. Words that are meant to be used sparingly because they connote something so horrific that you just don't, we hope, have need to use it too much. And if Cardinal Burke being told, "Get out of this apartment," is an atrocity, then I don't know what you call, well, you fill in the blank, because a million things came to my mind. Okie doke. Hey, did I tell you I watched this Rustin? Did I talk about that? I don't know if I did. It's on Netflix. It is, I believe much of it was filmed here, although why, I don't know, since it takes place mostly in DC. But I can see how a lot of things could have been done here. Rustin. And it's a... I guess they call these biopics, about the guy who organized the March on Washington. The I Have a Dream was very close to Dr. King. And he was such a remarkable character that I recommend you watch it. I don't know how great the movie is. It gets a little whatever. This is coming out of the production team set up by the Obamas, I believe. But just to learn about this guy, and then maybe to be made curious so that you seek out more information, because he was something else. Bayard Rustin. I always pronounce it Bayard Rustin because that's how it's spelled, but the film makes clear that that is not correct. It's Bayard Rustin. And what an extraordinarily courageous character. He was openly gay, an openly gay black man. He was a Quaker. He was, where did I hear, and it wasn't in the movie, that he like put together something with like classical music and or like Gregorian chants or he was like this, at a massive intellect and interest in so many things. And he, as a being, as a living human soul, he stood up against any effort to be stuck into any little box like so many people need to do to people. He was unique. And wow, Wow. Check it out if you have Netflix. It's worth getting acquainted with this guy, Bayard Rustin. It's called Rustin, Rustin. It got a rave review in the New York Times. I disagree with the rave review, but whatever. Everybody sees whatever they're going to see. There's a really miscast Chris Rock in it, who plays Roy Wilkins, who was the head of the NAACP. But it is really, really, in terms, if you're interested in history, it's really good. I also saw in the paper today that another movie that I told you to watch has now started winning awards. Won something called the Gotham Awards, and it's that French movie that I saw at the Manor Theater here in Squirrel Hill called Anatomy of a Fall. And I said of this movie, I had not seen a movie that had that impact on me in many, many, many years. A movie that leaves you like that, silent. That forces you to think, and it's just about humans, about legal systems, about our ability to. Somebody said it was Hitchcockian. I think it's. I don't know. Let me tell you, it's a hell of a movie if you can access that. Hunter Biden. So this is too much. Hunter Biden's attorney tells the Republican jerks in the House who are gunning for him, who have subpoenaed him, who have not seen fit to investigate Jared Kushner and his obvious dealings while in the White House with foreign entities that have quite clearly benefited him. They see no problem there, but something about this troubled, addicted soul doing things he shouldn't have done, which he has acknowledged. They see him in their cynical efforts to undermine the president. They see in his son an ability to do that. And so all of this lies at the heart of their attempt to impeach the president for nothing in particular, I guess, being the father of Hunter Biden. So, by the way, in regard to the attempt to impeach him, Biden, a Republican Congresswoman, Lisa McClain, who is on the House Oversight Committee, that's the ones trying to impeach the president, actually was on Fox Business the other day, and in response to a question admitted on Fox Business that the committee has found no evidence that President Biden changed any policies after what Republicans are saying was a bribe from China. They make this shit up. So, anyway, the lawyer for the president's son responded to this subpoena from the House Oversight Committee, the guy who heads it, this jerk named James Comer. And he said this. well, I thought I had it. He said, we'll come. He'll testify. But he wants to do it in open session. He wants to take the oath. He wants to sit for your questions. And he wants to do it, and boy, would that be televised, so that all Americans can see him, Hunter, and the Republican who are going after him. And they said he'd be available almost any date in December. And they sent this to Comer, who heads the committee. And they said, if, as you claim, your efforts are important and involve issues that Americans should know about, then let the light shine on these proceedings. We will agree. And Comer turned him down. They don't want to do it live with all of us watching. They want to do it behind closed doors so they can, edit it, so they can pull things out of context and then have at the media with it. And what Hunter Biden's attorney is saying, hey, look, he will answer all your questions, but he wants everybody to be able to see that process. And understand that by him offering to do this, he's putting himself in a lot of jeopardy because he'd be under oath. He'd be taking risks criminally because he is the subject of a federal criminal investigation and a special counsel. He is under indictment on charges of lying about his drug use. And any testimony he would give in that open session could be used against him. But by testifying publicly, he could just let it all hang out. It would be very gutsy of him. It would not be easy. And the Republicans won't let it happen. They won't let it happen because they can't use that as easily. They can't misuse, abuse, misinform, and disinform the American people if it's out there in the open where we all see it, as opposed to putting it behind closed doors where we only get their interpretation of it. So I think a pretty gutsy move on the part of Hunter Biden, and not unexpected retreat by these deplorable Republicans. And did you see Mike Pence, what he said? This is too much. You probably saw it, but I'm going to repeat it. Mike Pence, I guess ABC broke this story. Mike Pence has offered the special counsel, Jack Smith, new details about January 6th and the days preceding it. And he has apparently told Smith that he himself told Trump, hey, guy, we lost. We lost the election. And how then Trump just turned away and sought out anybody, Giuliani, Eastman, those guys who would tell him otherwise. And Pence also apparently admitted that he briefly considered not even showing up on January 6th, as he was, as vice president, supposed to do for the vote count, just getting out of it altogether. And he apparently told the special counsel that this impulse to not even show up was because it would, quote, be too hurtful to my friend, end quote. You know, what kind of a weirdo is he? Too hurtful to his friend? But he went on to say he showed up because his son, Pence's son, a former Marine, reminded him that they had both taken the same oath to support and defend the Constitution. And that shamed the elder Pence. And he showed up and narrowly avoided being lynched. So there's that. Thank you all for being there. Some more of you guys are sending me your email. Thank you. I'm sorry about my voice. I know listen, the list is long, but it can never be too long. And if you haven't sent it to me, you better, because I have no way of necessarily getting in touch with you if and when I start babbling on some other platform. Okay? Please send me your email. I will not abuse it in any way. That would be sent to Lynn Cullen Show at gmail.com. Thank you. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.